topic is going to be a little company called Facebook. Greg, I know you have a lot of strong opinions about Facebook. Obviously, the big news from a few weeks ago was their WhatsApp privacy update that I think a lot of users reacted pretty strongly to. We saw huge downloads for platforms like Signal, like Telegram. At least for me, that felt like a big moment because I think historically privacy and Facebook has a history of these privacy faux pas, and it's been a topic of conversation for tech journalists and the media, but to see people taking strong action, I feel like is a sign of the times. Greg, what was your take?
Well, it's a little bit like that scene in Casablanca where the Inspector General, the Frenchman, he comes in and he's been told to shut down the casino, and he blows the whistle, and they ask, like, well, what's the problem? He says, I can't believe that there's gambling in this cafe, and of course it's a casino, and somebody walks up to him and brings him his poker chips because he's won a bunch of money at the casino. But I'm surprised that people are surprised that there's an issue about what Facebook is doing with the data from WhatsApp. And in many ways, this is a little bit of a tempest in a teapot. They're just coming clean on what they've been trending toward all along. I mean, they held back some with WhatsApp because of they didn't want to alienate the community. But look, there is a master plan at Facebook. It is to integrate all the data together from Instagram, from WhatsApp, from the core Facebook properties, and they're just having to come clean about that now. And so some people are taking their messaging business elsewhere, and Telegram and Signal have been the main beneficiaries. It's kind of like long overdue. So, but it is, like you say, a bit of a marker when people are voting with their feet.
So there are these legal challenges that Facebook is facing. There's sort of the user expectation challenges, right, with people moving to more private encrypted platforms, right? What do you see as like the actual solution to these problems, right? Because sure, we can have regulators, antitrust cops come in, like let's say they break up Facebook. Does that actually fix the problem? Like what is the solution here?
So despite all those harsh statements, I'm not someone who favors breaking up Facebook. I mean, it's happened. Like, they've bought Instagram, they've bought WhatsApp. What I'm looking for is a rules of the game approach where regulators, policymakers lay out clear rules of what rights people have over their data, what rights other companies have to interoperate with Facebook when users say, I want to share my data with X, but not with Y, and whether Facebook respects that or disrespects it. Currently, right now, Facebook's terms of use allow it to override the preferences of the users over their own data. Facebook treats the graph, all the different intricacies of your interactions, as belonging to them rather than belonging to you. It's that simple. They think the graph of your interactions belongs to them, rather belongs to the person who is behind all those interactions. That's a fundamental problem for me in terms of agency in the world. If we don't own our own graph, then we're ants. And I don't want to live in a world where people are ants. And so they've used Cambridge Analytica, where some third-party developer abused that access to use it as actually a sword to punish everybody else who isn't abusing and is actually using user data at the bequest of the user. And so they've created this whole shakedown ecosystem of who does and doesn't get to use the data. And it completely slams and ignores people. And so the antitrust, the anti-competition, even the RICO debates, those are all good legal issues. But at the end of the day, there's a deeper issue, a more fundamental issue of who owns the data in Facebook. And it's the same question really for Airbnb or Uber or eBay. Like if you have a good reputation on eBay, should you be able to like share that with whoever you want to share it with? Or does eBay own your reputation? Does Uber own your reputation? Does Airbnb, or do you own your reputation and the platforms service you? And it's the same thing with Facebook. So Facebook's just the biggest poster child. They have the most data. They're the most onerous burden if that data is locked down. But we're just in the first inning of realizing that there's going to be a tussle and a battle over access to that data and control of who that data gets shared with, including shared with no one, because people want to keep it private. So whether people want it more private or more shared, in both cases, Facebook is saying, hey, speak to the hand.
There's chatter that Lena Khan might be up for an FTC position, and it was her seminal paper that sort of sparked this whole antitrust conversation that we're having. What's your take on that? And I know you've had conversations of Lena. What do you think with Lena? What do you think of her?
Lena Khan is 3 years out of law school. I can't think of anyone that Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple should fear more than her. That girl has game, okay? If you haven't read her work, okay, that resets the thinking as to like what the role of public policy and regulators should be. Instead of like thinking like this about like price levels, which are important, she's thinking about what are the implications in our society for the way we set the rules for inclusion, competition, and innovation. Like, oh my gosh, that you could like develop public policy that covered all those things instead of just stability and price levels. So yeah, if she pulls down that slot, I mean, that's like, in my mind, a big, big celebration. That's the new wave thinking. That's fresh faces, that's fresh energy. That's an amazing thing if that comes off. So I don't want to like predict it or hope too much for it because I might, jinx it.